Church, my eonless spirit of discernment told me that Lindsey and Mark would be the first ones to consummate their marriage. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that the same fire that brought them together would be responsible for tearing them apart. I got my notes, I hope y'all got yours. Let's get on into this damn mess. All right, y'all, let's jump right on in. I got two main altercations I want to talk about, and then we'll get into our individual couple updates, and then we'll be done. So we find out that Lindsey was drunk during the Olajuwon altercation. Y'all, I am so glad that my spirit of discernment discerned that I was right to support Katina and Olajuwon, okay? Because I knew that from Lindsey's quick change in personality that something had to be wrong, okay? Something in the milk wasn't clean, all right? Now, to find out that Lindsey was drunk, it all makes sense. There are two things in life that make you more of who you are, okay? One is money and the other is alcohol, okay? Alcohol enhances your personality, and because mama's personality is already on 50, the alcohol only raised it further than that. Now mama was at a smooth 100 and everything went down from there. So it all makes sense to me. The quick flip in the personality, the realization that she did something wrong, so it was a complete overcorrection, right? Instead of, you know, coming down and, you know, I'm sorry, this, that, and the third, it was, you know, I need to separate myself from the group. We have to be on another bus. I need to be sequestered in my hotel room. It was an overcorrection because she realized that she was wrong. So I'm patting myself on the back because I called it. Okay. I'm just glad to know that I was right. Now, moving forward to the argument between Katina and Lindsey. Y'all, this was bound to happen because Lindsey decided to play the victim, okay? One of the things I hate is that when people try to play the victim when they cause their own problems, right? And you could see that Katina was trying to let it go. She was trying to listen to those words that Olajuwon asked of her when he asked her to, you know, not hold a grudge against Lindsey because it was going to make it awkward between, you know, the group. And every single time Lindsey said something, she was going to be sitting on ready. But what you can't do is sit in my face and play victim and think that I'm not going to say anything. So she had enough, and I'm right with her. Listen, if you're going to sit there and start talking about this narrative that you were triggered and it brought you into past relationships where men were domineering over you and stuff like that, mama, you caused your own trauma in this situation, okay? And I'm so glad that Jasmina had her back on it and was able to relay it to Lindsey in a way that I hope she could understand, right? Katina's delivery was probably a bit harsh, okay? But listen, she was emotional about the situation, and sometimes things come out the way they come out. I do not think that she was overtly rude. Could she have been nicer? Absolutely, okay? But when you're triggered in a situation, your speech comes out a certain way, which is why I said I'm glad Jasmina had her back and was able to explain her position on the back end, because if you brought up the situation, if you caused the situation, you caused the trauma that you went through, okay? And whether or not your brain on alcohol and off alcohol can conceptualize that, that's your own personal struggle and your struggle in order to get to that point of self-awareness, right? But don't play victim when you caused your own trauma. Now, moving forward from there, we're going to go into our individual couple updates. Alyssa and Chris. Y'all, I already told y'all that I have no hope for this couple, and I still don't. I think that right now it's a combination of the producers and Alyssa doing TV, okay? Alyssa has made up her mind about this man, and there is nothing that he can do to change it. So to me, there is no reason to proceed forward other than the fact that the producers are trying to do TV and Alyssa is trying to do damage control to show that she's there, that she's trying, and that she's moving forward. Now, what draws away from her speech in terms of being there and wanting to move forward is that every single time she gets a chance, when she's by herself on the camera, is that she don't like the man, they're not vibing, she's unhappy, XYZ. If you're unhappy, mama, leave, okay? Because the only reason that he's trying is because he told himself that if you put in 1%, he'll be all in, and it's not fair to him, right? The only person working on the relationship in the Alyssa and Chris conversation is Chris. So to keep Making the man jump through hoops for an unwinnable situation seems cruel to me. And the fact that you are simply on this show just to do damage control and do TV is not conducive to what the show is supposed to be about, right? So if the producers are just trying to see this live train wreck happen each week, I guess that's what we're gonna do. But to me, I don't think there's any hope, and I think that we're beating a dead horse at this point. There was a saying from one of my favorite shows, Girlfriends, that basically says we're knitting a sweater for a dead dog, okay? I'm sorry, that's what we're doing. We are knitting a sweater for a dead dog. Repeat it for yourself a couple times and you'll understand the meaning, y'all. Now on to Steve and Noi. Y'all, I really like the way Steve and Noi are progressing. I think it's very lovey-dovey. I think that it's a wonderful place that they're in right now. You know, sometimes in relationships, you have one person that advances more than the other in terms of feelings. Sometimes people are on the same level, but more times than not, one person feels more of something than the other one does, and it takes them a bit to catch up. And that's kind of where they are. Noi is all in. If she feels something, she's going to say it. Steve is a bit more reserved, and that's fine, right? I mean, when Noi hauled off and said, "I think I'm starting to fall in love with you," what was the man supposed to say? If he's not feeling it in his spirit and his soul, what is the point of lying to your face just to preserve your feelings, right? He said, "I'm developing strong feelings for you, but I'm not there yet." And in the grand scheme of things, y'all have only really known each other for 3 days. 3 days ago, mama, I didn't even know you. So I cannot say that I'm falling in love with you right now just to make you happy. But I think from the way that they're interacting with each other, his body language is saying it more than his actual words. And I think that they'll get there unless something blows up. And we'll see what goes on from there. Now, Jasmina and Michael. Y'all, I said last time that I didn't think that Michael's pessimism was a real problem as long as he's not Mr. Doom and Gloom all the time. Now, the problem that we're having this episode, y'all, is that Michael's pessimism shows up in a sort of like, number one, he thinks all the situations are not going to go his way, right? And that's due to his own personal trauma, and I respect that and I understand it. But the second thing about it is it shows up in a very aggressive manner, right? And Jasmina, she's not one to back down from a challenge. Like, you're not going to talk to me crazy. And I understand that. Like, one of the things that you're not going to do to me is to talk to me crazy, okay? I do not have daddy issues. I do not have mommy issues, okay? I was given enough hugs when I was younger, okay? My parents told me that they loved me and that I was great. So I don't need a daddy or a mommy in a relationship, okay? And baby, neither does Jasmina. So what you won't do is you will not talk to me crazy. Now let's get into the actual issue. Michael said that when they was on the boat, Jasmina cut him off when they were talking about had they consummated their marriage. Now, y'all drop down in the comments and let me know if we're watching two completely different shows, because from what I saw, Jasmina waited until he finished his sentence and then she started speaking. Now, I don't know if they were raised differently and perhaps he had more to say and maybe he made an utterance and we didn't hear it, or the cameras, or not the cameras, the microphones didn't pick it up. But from what I saw, his mouth was closed when she started speaking. So I don't understand how he thinks that she cut him off, okay? So I'm with Jasmina. It may not sound right, but listen, she was trying to smooth over the argument and move forward because we were at an impasse. You think that I cut you off? I know that I didn't cut you off, but I respect that you feel that I cut you off, right? So I'm sorry if you feel that way, okay? And for her to even make that utterance after he was so aggressive with her, to me, that still speaks to her trying to make it right moving forward. So listen, Michael needs to work on his delivery, okay? Because I'm thinking that him not being in a relationship for a while has led him to this point where he thinks he can talk aggressively and crazy and it's okay, and it's not, okay? So sometimes y'all who have not been in relationships for a while, you know, you get stuck in yourself and stuck in your ways and stuck in a way of thinking, in a way of speaking, in a way of acting, and it can sort of rear its ugly head when you're put back into the relationship format, and you're having to realize that everybody is not going to understand the way you communicate, and everyone is not going to receive it the same way. So, you know, though your intentions may have been good and you didn't want to come off condescending and aggressive, unfortunately, that's how it happened. And agreeing to disagree and moving forward from there and trying to be better is probably your best scenario in this case. Now on to Katina and Olajuwon. Y'all, I am so confused. I'm telling y'all, this is a couple where I'm confuzzled, okay? In the words of one of my best friends, I am completely confuzzled, which is a combination of confused and puzzled. On one hand, he says like the sweetest things and he seems to be all in, and, you know, his fuckboy ways are in the past and he wants to move forward and it's his queen and this, that, and the third. And then on the other hand, you on the boat talking about, you know, your old Isaac days and that you did the mama and the daughter. And if she offered you, you know, another woman, then you'd have to oblige and stuff. Furthermore, the whole thing where you were trying to do this pseudo test with her down to the damn gym, where you were trying to be aggressive to pull out her more assertive side so that she would stand up for herself. I don't know if you just have this concept of a wife in your head that you're trying to force upon her, or if you're actually just trying to bring out the best in her and make the real Katina show up, so we cut through the BS of, you know, when you first meet someone, you're not meeting them, you're meeting their representative. So perhaps he's just trying to cut to the chase. I don't know, and that's why I'm confuzzled in this situation. But I'm willing to give Olajuwon a chance because, listen, his speech is starting to match his mindset, which is the problem that I had with him last week in terms of his speech not catching up to his mind yet. So listen, he's trying to walk his walk and talk his talk, and it seems to be resonating with Katina despite his, you know, little misgivings here and there. So I have hope for them, but I'm still confuzzled. And last but not least, to Lindsey and Mark. Y'all, I said this in the beginning of the season, but I knew that Lindsey's personality might be too much for Mark, okay? And I think what we're finding is that Mark is having a battle within himself as to whether or not he can deal with Lindsey's highs and lows and always being at 100, or, you know, it's either 60 or 0. It's 0 or 60. There's no in between. Like, we need to get to a strong 30, and mama doesn't even know what 30 looks like. Now, just to analyze the breakdown between the two of them, was it the right forum for him to have that conversation with her? Absolutely not. If you're going to you know, purport this to be a romantic evening, you're trying to have romance, you're trying to get to know me on another level, you're trying to be more intimate, I think it was a sort of bait and switch, which is probably what initially upset her about the situation, because we're in this beautiful location, you know, you created this wonderful dinner, and now I'm being pseudo attacked, right? The other issue here is that I don't think Mark thought through exactly what he wanted to say, right? Because there's sort of a conflict here. He's dealing with the ramifications of what her actions have done to the group and people around him and having to clean up her messes, while also trying to deal with getting to know her, going to the next level of intimacy and reconciling what that means, right? So I just think it was a case where, you know, homeboy did not eat his Wheaties and he didn't realize what he was actually trying to say in a situation. One of the things I hate is when people think that they're saying something, but they're in actuality saying something else, and you have to sort of discern what they actually mean by it. And I think if perhaps he just tried to keep that night very light, it would have been better, and perhaps pulled her aside at another situation and just tried to say, listen, I'm having a problem with you constantly being at 60 all the time, right? It's causing problems in the group. It's causing problems with me and, you know, the other couples having to defend you and be on your side, while also trying to, you know, realize that you were kind of at fault in some of these situations more than not. And so to me, it just seems like everything was getting to him at once, right? So it's her whirlwind behavior with the couples. It's them, you know, consummating their marriage and moving forward with the lovey-dovey thing. It was way too much and he needed to pull back. So like I said, just sit Lindsey down and tell her exactly what was on your heart. Don't hem and haw, and don't try to come all the way back down to zero because you're confused as to where you are and where you're going, right? I always feel like the best way through a storm, the best way to get through a storm is to just go directly through it, right? Address it head on and go from there. And I think Lindsey would have appreciated it more than you trying to sort of create this smoke screen that you don't want to be lovey-dovey. You just want to, you know, take it slow. Well, listen, sir, we've already been through all these arguments. You know, we've already consummated this marriage. Apparently you farting and clogging up the toilet, honey. And that's like a level of intimacy that Lindsey thinks that y'all are an old married couple at this point. And so, just the bait and switch of the situation sent her into something. So I think if this situation teaches Lindsey and Mark anything, particularly Mark, is just if you have a thought and you have a stance, don't be afraid to say exactly what is on your mind versus trying to beat around the bush, because you end up doing more damage than good in the long run. And I think that's really all I wanted to say on this episode, y'all. So if you liked what I said, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all social media at DatDamnDasher. And until next time, y'all, let us pray that the producers and Alyssa come to some sort of realization to set herself free so that Chris will stop trying, because, baby, it is painful to watch. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye.